The Lees Cliff lift in Folkestone was built in 1885, at a time when William Gladstone was Britain's Prime Minister. It's one of only a handful of water balance lifts still in operation. The top car is filled with water till it starts to move, which then pulls the bottom car to the top. The journey from top to bottom takes just under a minute. It's time to meet our non-voters. Victoria, Hannah and Lauren are all under 22, and none of them intends to vote in Thursday's local elections.
I don't plan on voting at the moment, just don't know enough about it to bother, really.
I'm not going to vote, I've had no information and I wouldn't even know where to start.
I can't be expected to vote when there's not enough information available.
So the big question is who, if anyone, can persuade them to vote. Meet the Persuaders, 3 people who believe passionately that everyone should vote. So here's the challenge. Can the 3 persuaders persuade the 3 non-voters that they should indeed vote next Thursday? And the catch, well, there has to be a catch, doesn't there, is that they only have the time it takes for that vernacular railway to go from the top to the bottom. Can they do it? Our first persuader is Mike Mitchell, a member of an anti-council tax pressure group.
Good morning, I'm Mike. Hi.
As soon as we start moving, Mike, your time will start. It's filling up with water, and we're on the move. So, Mike, you can start.
Right, my message to you today is really simple. Voting can be effective in changing things, so the only question for you is there something you care about enough to want to change it by voting? My issue is council tax. In my area, it was going up by 7%, 10%, then one year it shot up 20%, and we said enough is enough. This is stopping young people wanting to get into work, this is driving old people out of the area, it's hitting poor and pensioners. So we got involved in a local election and we said to councillors, if you keep coming after our homes with your taxes, we'll come after your jobs with our votes. We did that, we changed the council, changed control of it, and the tax now goes up by less than 5% the last 3 years. So we've achieved a result. Now that's my issue. Your issue might be anything you care about. It might be a tax on young women in your area, or licensing hours, or rubbish in the streets, or where your granny got treated in hospital. Do you care enough to want to vote and change that issue? If you do, find out how to use your vote to do that. Google it, ask your parents, watch the local news. You did it when you cribbed your essays at school, right? So you can do it for this. So there's ways of finding out the information. And start to vote to change things. Tell people why you're voting, and you can see your vote change the world in the way you want.
Well, we've come to a halt, Mike, so your time's up. We'll find out how your passion plea went down with the non-voters in a moment.
Nice to meet you. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next to try her persuasive skills is Agnes Wlodarczyk. Originally from Poland, where they didn't have free elections until 1990, she now runs a recruitment agency in Kent.
British government is one of the most powerful governments in the world. You may think that your one vote does not make any difference, but if you put together all those thousands of votes of people who think like you, you will see the difference, which might affect not only the UK but the whole world. Local elections, which are coming on the 3rd of May, affects you as much as the general one because they deal with issues which affects you every day, about the leisure facilities you use, about the street you walk on, about the houses you live in. So you should go and vote for it. You have to remember that if you will not go and vote, someone else will, and probably for someone you would not like to call your representative. So think about it and go and find yourself a representative or vote against someone you don't want. As an immigrant, I've got the right to go and vote in the local elections because the issues affects me as much as they affect other people living in this country. So I would like to encourage only not you, but also all the immigrants living in the country.
Agnes, your time is up. How do you think you've done?
Well, great audience, but not enough time.
Do you think you've convinced them?
I think so.
We'll find out in a minute. Thank you very much. Last up is the youngest of our persuaders, 19-year-old Sam Dobin, who won a schools competition last year as the best Prime Minister in a mock parliament. Will the non-voters be convinced by someone closer to their own age?
So, why vote? I think one of the biggest arguments young people use against voting is that it's got nothing to do with them. Politicians aren't listening to them. It's a really circular argument. If you don't vote, politicians aren't going to listen to you. They're far more interested in looking at the pensioners, to do with their central heating bills, because they know they're going to come out and vote. They're not particularly interested in activities for young people, employment, careers, opportunities, because it's not going to get them the votes, and it's ultimately the votes that give them the chance to do something. Why don't you vote? Because they're not doing anything. Why don't they listen? Because you're not voting. It's a circular argument. You have to break that cycle by agreeing to vote. The other argument young people use as to why they don't vote is that they're not politically interested because it has nothing to do with them. It has got something to do with you. It's to do with your employment, it's to do with your tax, it's to do with your holidays and aeroplanes and airport charges. It's got a lot to do with you, it's particularly relevant, and that's why you have to get out and vote. It's absolutely essential.
Well, that's it. You've just finished in time, Sam. We're just coming to a halt. Well done. How do you think you've done?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. Hard audience, but yeah.
We'll find out what they think in a minute.
Thank you.
So, at last, the moment of truth. Have any of the persuaders convinced even one of the non-voters that they should indeed vote on Thursday? So, you've heard the arguments for voting. What do you all think?
I think it's definitely something that we're going to look into and consider, but still would have to sort of look into it ourselves, make our own minds up and our own views. But definitely, it's nice.
I'm not as persuaded as I thought I would be, to be completely honest with you. I think Sam's argument was more relevant to myself.
I'm not too sure, really. I mean, obviously, I am aware that I can make the choice now and I have the choice to vote, but I still don't really know who to vote for.
No, the information is still not available to us. It wasn't really. We still don't know where to go for the information.